Welcome to Keduzi Cast. I'm going to be talking about accessing a radical vision because at a recent event, I was billed as a visionary along with several other people. And that felt very uncomfortable to me. So I had to stop and think about it and decided, okay, they can call me a visionary because we all have the capacity for visioning. And it's patriarchy and colonialism that have laid in all kinds of patterns and beliefs and assumptions that make it really hard for us to think about being radical and thinking radically when we are trying to envision something. Many people might think about the future as, oh, it's like now, but only greener. Like now with solar panels and electric cars. And we don't really think about where the materials come from or question the idea of consumption or how decisions are made. So I want to take us back because I believe that when we were born completely powerful. And we knew exactly what we needed to do in order to mobilize to get our needs met. We cried. We just did it. And we expected the world to meet our needs. We expected there to be this flow, this togetherness, and that we would have choice. Then things happen that start taking this away. And we realize that in order to get these resources, to get our needs met, we have to play by rules that don't make any sense. And we start to lose the capacity for a really radical vision of what the world could be like. So if we are trying to design for sustainability, for example, we're going to do it based on our assumptions and beliefs and patterns that we grew up with, that were instilled in us through education, society, etc., which is going to keep our vision narrow. Our brain will keep pulling us into the familiar unless we deliberately and intentionally interrogate these assumptions. We will keep falling back into the familiar. So, one of the ways that we can deliberately put ourselves into that space of interrogation is through various kind of communities. And I just want to tell you about one community that I'm a part of, which has been made possible through the collective Possible Futures. And this is their course on Intro to Decolonial Sustainability. Now, I don't imagine many of my listeners will be in the sustainability field, in which case the course might not make sense for you. However, it does help us look at the reality of the way systems work, and it challenges us in many ways that I'm going to describe. So, it's women from and in the global south, the Philippines, Brazil, India, China, who have beautifully cultivated a space and designed a story to take people through quite a painful journey of noticing those patterns, assumptions, and beliefs in ourselves, in the sustainability industry, but also in wider society, wherever we live. And the patriarchal and colonial ways that we are living within have set things up so that it's really hard for us to take in information like that very well, especially when we're so isolated in our individualistic societies. So very deliberately, the course facilitators, they're called navigators, put you into groups, which are called crews. So you end up doing this work together, which is a huge contradiction to all we have to do to prove ourselves by ourselves, the expectations that are put upon us that we put upon ourselves. So you're doing this work together, exploring together, and supporting each other as you are challenged. This mimics the kind of support groups that I run outside of the course and in the race workshop series and the support group programs that I run for people targeted by racism and people who have disabilities, long-term health conditions, mental health issues, and neurodivergence. This support space, like the crews from the course, are so important for learning together. And in the course, especially, it's not very easy sailing because in addition to all of these patterns and assumptions and beliefs that folks are questioning, there are certain dynamics that occur within the course, which occur in the real world outside the course. Those patterns get replicated, the dynamics get replicated in the workplace. So, for example, knowing that in this course, the facilitators are from the Global South, how comfortable would you be in accepting leadership from women in the Global South? Most likely your own managers, your bosses, your colleagues, your teachers, they probably don't live in the Global South, and they are probably from the Global North. So think about your own work situation, and if your leadership isn't coming from the Global South, how comfortable would you feel accepting that? And if you yourself are from the Global South and maybe even live in the Global South, you might still have trouble accepting leadership from women in the Global South due to internalized depression, believing those messages that are passed on through generations about who should be a leader. This adds another dimension, which can be very difficult, and so you may feel resistance in accepting leadership from them or from managers who are from the Global South, who live in the Global South. As well, you've got that group of students in your crew, and they're called expeditioners because you are on this journey together. And this could very well be a mixed group, a mixed space, which means there will be racialized white people from the Global North, and there will be racialized non-white people in the Global North, and there will be people from the Global South in the Global South, in that mixed space. And not everyone will have trained awareness about positionality, about oppression, internalized oppression, and harm that can happen in these spaces. Because guess what? Harm will happen in these spaces. There's too much unawareness for this not to happen. However, as part of the course, everyone is encouraged to recognize and name these harms as they happen as much as possible, which can make for a deeply uncomfortable space. Fortunately, we have that great leadership, and there are coaches, of which I am one of 4, who are available to accompany and support expeditioners in navigating these choppy waters. So, for those of you in a space like sustainability, and I'm just sticking with that because that was the context of the event that I went to where I was billed as a visionary. Despite all of your good intentions working within this field, you are likely to be perpetuating the same patterns that got us into these global crises. And this painful realization can create identity crises of like, should I stay Or should I go? How would I make money? How would I justify myself, to people around me? How would I justify my status? What would my status be? This can happen in other fields as well, of course. You could be working in marketing or an extractive industry or in academia. And you could feel that there's a big disconnect between what is going on in the world that relates to our survival, our being able to take care of one another, our ability to keep each other as safe as possible, and what you're doing to make money. And that can be really tough. And so I will, in a later podcast, come back to the idea of visioning and how it can be used as a tool for aligning what you're doing with your life with what is going on in the world. But I'll save that for next time. But the point here, and this is me circling back to the idea that we are all born visionaries. I believe we can all reclaim that ability, but it needs us to be very deliberate because it requires us to unpack a whole load of assumptions, beliefs, and patterns that will make the invisible visible. Hey, thank you for listening to another episode of Keduzi Cast. If you'd like more from me and Keduzi, I have a newsletter at letter.keduzi.org. There's a WhatsApp channel for tips and info related to EDI, DEI with the decolonial lens, a Telegram channel, LinkedIn, YouTube channel, Instagram, X, and Facebook. You can find all of this on my website, keduzi.org. And looking forward to meeting you in one of those places sometime soon.